Welcome to the Pillow Fright Podcast. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Emma.
Kay could not make it today, but you have 2/3 of your besties here to bring you all things horror.
Oh my gosh, and we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. You can't see him yet.
So, here to chat with us about our movie this month. If you've read the title of the episode, then it's not going to be a spoiler. We're chatting Black Roses with the star of the movie, Mr. Frank Dietz. He's a real Swiss Army creative, acting in such films as Rock and Roll Nightmare, Tales of Halloween, working as an animator on major motion pictures. He's an incredible artist, hand-drawing gorgeous works of classic monsters, a screenwriter for the Creepshow series on Shudder, and even an author with his book Monsters, Movies, and Me, True Tales of My Journey into Cult Horror Films. He has also been inducted into the Rondo Award Monster Kid Hall of Fame. This guy truly does it all, and we are so excited to hear some of your amazing stories from your decades within the industry. Welcome, Frank Dietz.
Thank you.
Woo!
Oh, thanks so much. Love to be here.
Thank you for being here. No, I'm so glad that you were able to do this, because when we figured that we were going to do Metal Month, not just, we'll talk about it later, not just like Music Month, but Metal Month, we're like,
Yeah.
Black Roses.
Yes.
Black Roses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If it's metal horror, there's about 10 that kind of almost always go right onto the list.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And 2 of them I was in, which I love. And even Zombie Nightmare has, even though there's no metal band in it, the soundtrack to Zombie Nightmare is all metal, and it's great.
I haven't seen it,
It's
so
like
I didn't know that.
Motorhead and I think some Lizzie Borden in there. Yeah, I mean, the whole soundtrack is all metal.
Wow.
So I almost called my book Monsters, Movies, Metal, and Me.
Oh.
Yes.
And but then as the book progressed, I realized that that the metal part of it wasn't quite enough to keep it in the title of the book itself.
Yeah. Oh.
But the first few versions of the cover still had metal on there.
You
But,
know what? We'll
mm.
read it as metal. We know that metal is there.
It's October, Pillow Frighters. It's the best time of the year. Halloween parties, new horror movies every week in the theaters, pumpkin spice everything. It is the best time of the year to be a monster kid.
Yes, it is, Emma. Yes, it is. So we decided to do something a little unexpected for October, but still very fitting, and you'll see why. Because I bet you were expecting Halloween movies, weren't you?
Oh, it's
Weren't you, Frank?
like they thought we were going to be basic bitches.
No,
No.
not today, Satan. And speaking of Satan,
Hail Satan. No, we have decided to shake things up and give you 4 weeks of metal mayhem. That's right. The Pillow Fright Podcast is cranking it to 11.
cranking it to 11. Love the reference. So, what is your experience with the metal genre?
Mine? So I was never a hair metal kid per se. I grew up being like a punk hardcore kid.
Yeah.
Lots of straight edge bands. So it's kind of adjacent. Like I liked heavy music.
Yeah.
I guess the closest I've gotten is when I was like 15 or 16, I read that book, Lords of Chaos,
Oh my gosh.
about the black
About-
metal scene
Mhm.
in
Norway.
and I got really into black metal. I'm still really into black metal. So I'm like a borderline adjacent metal fan.
Right on the line.
Right on the line. What about you, Frank?
Well, I wasn't like a full-on metalhead when I was a teenager. Like I went to see Black Sabbath. I went to see other bands of that time, Deep Purple, etc.
Oh.
Right, but that wasn't necessarily my go-to. My taste was a little more pedestrian, honestly.
Yeah.
I like Queen. I like Elton John. I like Linda Ronstadt, stuff like that. Not that I didn't appreciate the metal,
Right.
but it wasn't my go-to. And I don't think I really appreciated it until the 80s, when all of a sudden now you have all these people in making independent horror movies and are utilizing metal as their soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah. And I was just lucky enough to become involved with a group of people that really felt like this was peanut butter and jelly. Like these things had to go together.
Did they give you like the full education when you started doing them?
No, it was really just starting out with just because like when the first movie I was in was Zombie Nightmare, and I didn't know what the soundtrack was going to be at the time. I did not know who Motorhead was, and the Motorhead song is Ace of Spades, is what opens the movie. And so the first time I saw a cut of the movie, I was just like, oh wow, I dig this. Like this fits. I like this, and so that's where my education. I was a late bloomer when it comes to metal.
Okay,
right, and then doing Rock and Roll Nightmare, and then the movie we're going to be talking about that had some actual, real, official metal artists involved in the movie.
Yeah.
And that Carmine Appice, who became the sort of the sort of metal guru on set for all of us 28-year-olds playing high schoolers who did not necessarily understand all the jargon or all the expressions or the hand signals or anything like that. So it was great to have him there for us.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. If you know me, you know my greatest loves in life are horror and music. More specifically, good old-fashioned rock and roll. And even more specifically, love me that butt metal. Love me that sleaze rock. That holds a special place in my heart. So that was kind of my gateway into like actual true metal. I've been a fan of 80s, 70s sleaze rock since I was a kid and didn't know what it was. I just knew that I liked their hair and I wanted my hair to look like their hair. And they were so pretty. I'm thinking like Cinderella was one that I knew at a younger age, and I didn't really get into him until I met Ryan. Ryan was actually my gateway really into metal because he's the metalhead, like just anybody I know. He's like the metalhead. He was in a band and he just taught me everything there was. But yeah, I love me my sleaze rock. Def Leppard's one of my favorite bands of all time. And the combination of horror and metal, and that's why I'm so drawn to these 80s movies that specifically incorporate a metal soundtrack, because it makes me feel like in Deathgasm when they're listening to metal for the first time and they're like on the hill.
Oh, I know.
Like
her tits pop out.
Every time I listen to anything metal, anything involved with it, that's how I feel.
It's true.
This is why I'm a little too excited about this theme. I've got to contain myself. Otherwise, I will talk for 5 hours straight.
No, we're so excited. I think it's strange because we grew up like in the late 90s, 2000s, but there's like kind of like this look back to the 80s that we all grew up with where everything 80s was always kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And 88 is like the year of the coolest ever.
87 and 88 were this weird turning point where all the stars aligned and music, movies, TV, everything was just perfect, at least in our eyes. But
I'm a fan of the entire decade, honestly. I mean,
you're
if
so
you look back at the earlier 80s, before I even started working in movies like The Thing and American Werewolf and the remake of the Blob was later, I guess. But,
it was 88, I think?
That was 88.
88!
There you go.
There you go. See?
Everyone loves 86. We love 88.
I mean, 86 is my birthday.
But those are the movies that I think everybody holds a little precious for so many reasons. Way before CG, everything was practical effects. And I think that's something that sort of inherently people appreciate. What's real? You know?
What year did MTV release?
That was pretty early on.
It was early?
That had to be 81 or 82.
Okay, because I was going to say, I feel like there was a turning point in horror when it came to music. I always think of Jason Lives, 86. I feel like there was something after 86 where there was this, we need all these movies to have this kind of cater to the youth with the soundtracks. And that's why I always call Friday the 13th 6 the MTV movie, the MTV one.
Let's look at Phenomena.
Yeah.
Dario Argento went from like these beautiful prog rock scores from Goblin to Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Like, what a shift. I mean, both are great, but you know, it hit all places within the genre, I think, in that time period.
Man, love it so much.
And I think that what you said about MTV is probably true, that once there was music video, right? There was, it wasn't just, you're not just listening to the music through earphones anymore. You're correlating it with an image. And so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Then movies would take that on once they saw the popularity of MTV and really create sequences or even just title sequences or end credits that utilize a song that they will hope will stick in your head, and you'll leave the movie theater with that.
Yeah.
And that's why you'd have people like Ozzy Osbourne and Alice Cooper who would contribute songs to movies, especially genre movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So how was it? I know that a lot of your early work, you guys got a lot of these big bands on these indie films. How did you get them to say yes?
I think that, well, it wasn't my department, certainly, but I think that a lot of those bands were still sort of up and coming. They weren't quite in the spotlight yet. They were just on the cusp of it. And it was, I think it was, a lot of it was just lucky that, and I don't even remember, I don't believe it was John Fasano who chose the music for Zombie Nightmare, but whoever did it made some great choice. Girl School. I mean, there's so many great bands in there. And the fans who love both, of course, are going to be like, oh my dude, it's Ace of Spades that opens the movie. But like, how were those particular bands chosen? Probably out of necessity for budget.
Yeah.
They were affordable.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because now they're absolutely not.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
That's
But
so, oh my
John
gosh.
Fasano, we're going to talk about him a lot more later, but he was like an absolute metalhead, right?
What's so funny is that I knew John, we went to elementary school.
Really?
Oh,
We grew up in
okay.
the same town on the East Coast. I knew him, I'm a little older than him, but I knew him since third or fourth grade.
Wow.
And he was this chubby, nerdy little kid with almost literally like, you know, the kids in the Larson cartoons, like little doofy kids with the glasses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of this, you know, this little nerdy kid. And he blossomed at some point, obviously, but I never, even through all of our friendship, don't recall him ever going to a metal concert.
Oh.
Or we went on a lot of road trips. Like we would have to drive to and from Canada quite a few times while making the 4 movies that we worked on together. And I think he would play it on his cassette deck in the car. But I don't remember him being like a champion for it.
Interesting.
I think he was very into pro wrestling. That was a big thing for him. But clearly, because at least in 3 of the 4 movies that we did together, there is such a strong heavy metal presence.
Right.
And even though John is not the director of the first film, John directed the other 3, and so he definitely did have a say in what the soundtrack was going to be. And I think he was smart enough to know that there was this connection, this correlation between the two that was going to appeal to audiences, especially we're talking about the VHS era.
Right.
Right. And so I think he was a smart guy. There's no doubt about that. He was a very smart guy. And I think that had a lot to do with his success after making horror movies and moving into mainstream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think part of the appeal too, I don't know my years, but when did Satanic Panic really kick in?
It was
Okay, well,
around that, right?
I feel like that probably boosted its profile, obviously, because these movies have a lot.
Well,
they're all based on that,
right? Yeah.
And I feel like that really catapulted metal to the scene.
Yeah. So it was like the mid '80s. It was the Reagan era, and
That's right. Yeah.
And Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife, was the one who sort of brought it to the forefront, saying that this heavy metal, biting the heads off bats on stage, blah, 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 witchcraft and everything was harming our children and turning them into dangerous individuals. And so there was went to Congress. I mean, there was all I remember like Frank Zappa and Ozzy and a whole bunch of other people testified in the defense of heavy metal. And truthfully, I mean, maybe not so much Rock and Roll Nightmare, but Black Roses is right out of the head, ripped right out of those headlines.
Tipper Gore is like in the movie pretty much at one point.
Which is played by Julie Adams.
Julie Adams.
It's
That's what I
basically
meant.
playing Tipper Gore.
Right.
In the movie,
Which is crazy. Oh my gosh. And we talk about that a lot on this podcast. It's interesting how many satanic movies almost play into the Reagan era propaganda. which Black Roses kind of does. And it's
Mhm.
interesting because I know Rock and Roll Nightmare did not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I actually laughed because I saw somebody wrote a review on Amazon for Black Roses. And they gave it like 1 star, and they said something like that it was a pro Reagan movie.
What?
And I laughed out loud because I mean, yeah, I know, but in Black Roses, it turns out that the band actually is from hell and is actually changing the
Yeah.
children into murderers. However, the people I made this movie with were the furthest thing from
Yeah.
pro-Reagan. I can
Yeah.
tell you right now. I'm sure that John and Cindy just looked at the headlines and said, this is a great opportunity to create a fun story for a horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
no,
really
and I
is.
mean it's not just these movies. I mean, Trick or Treat did the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
honestly, within the subgenre of satanic movies, it is absolutely
It's a baseline.
it's a
pretty much for
baseline,
most. Yeah.
and we've gotten people that have been like, Emma's a Satanist because
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The first couple months that we did movies, every single film had something to do with Satan or the church or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we had to sit back and think, oh crap, why do all of these movies have to deal with Satan and must be like Satan? Yeah. And it's just a cover for. But no, that wasn't the case. It was just a coincidence.
In the late 70s, I mean, it would have been The Brotherhood of Satan, The Devil's Reign. I mean, there were tons of movies even
Right.
back then. So it's not like it really changed all that much.
No.
Yeah.
but it is an interesting thing that repeats throughout a lot of satanic movies.
Mhm.
And it's but you know what? It's crazy because those are always the funnest roles.
They
like-
really are. Oh, I love it so much. So before we get into the nitty gritty of
Mhm.
Black Roses, we do have a few questions that we ask everyone. Starting off with, what was your first scary movie that you ever remember seeing?
I think that my fans are so sick and tired of hearing this story, but
They'll hear it again.
they're going to hear it again because there is no other answer,
hmm
right? But I was about 6 years old when I saw Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh.
Ooh.
And I didn't know my parents and my aunts and everything were in the kitchen playing poker and smoking cigarettes and drinking beer. And I was alone, and I had a younger brother, but I was 6, he was 3, he was a good playmate. So you just sit me down in front of turn on the TV and let me watch whatever came on. What came on was this movie called Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I didn't know the name of it because I guess I came in a little bit late, right? But I was mesmerized because I had never heard of Frankenstein's monster. I'd never heard of Count Dracula. I didn't ever heard of the Wolfman.
Oh.
I didn't know who these characters
Yeah.
were. I had no basis to understand who they are and what their history is. And my mind was blown. I was just like, what is this? Like,
Interesting.
I'm home. This is my home now, right? And I knew even back then, I just knew that, look, I don't know how they do this, but wow, I want to do this. I want to be part of this.
Oh.
And obviously, many years before I could really even understand how they did this stuff. And until I found a neighbor's a copy of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, and looking through it, there was a photo of Jack Pierce making up Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. And I was just like, oh my God, that's like a job. That's something that you actually do. And there was a picture of Ray Harryhausen animating the dragon from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And it was like, that's how they do that. Oh my God. Like this. And it was life-changing, really. I mean, I became a full-on monster loving kid. And what was great about that was that it sparked my imagination and my creativity. And I was drawing these characters from memory because back then, that was not the time of instant gratification where you go to the shelf and grab the movie off your shelf and watch it in the comfort of your home. You had to wait sometimes years before you'd see that movie again.
Wow.
And when it did come on, it was an event. It was like even King Kong coming on television it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And if you didn't dare miss it because you might not see it again ever. And so I fell in love with the characters. The Wolfman in particular, I was just so fascinated by that character, the good and the evil, the good guy who at night turns into a monster. And I was, at that point, I was done. I was just like, somehow or another, without obviously knowing how to get there, I was just like, I'm going to keep working toward getting there. And obviously it took many years, but I owe everything to that movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got there. All
And
right.
it is still to this day my favorite movie.
Oh, I love that.
I watch it often.
Oh,
I
no.
have 2 daughters. I mean, they're adult daughters now, but they were pretty much breastfed on Abbott and Costello and Frankenstein.
I love that so much.
So if that was your first horror movie, what was the first one that you can remember that actually scared you?
Okay. That I definitely remember. So the first movie that really scared me, one of the 2 movie theaters in my hometown, this is back when it was like movie theaters only had one screen, right? Would show matinee, usually horror movies, right? And whatever it was, I would just go to see. Didn't matter what it was. Maybe if I read something in Famous Monsters or something like that, I'd know about it a little bit. But there was a double feature. And there were these 2 films, these 2 British films. One was called The Projected Man, which was the first one. And so sat through that, and it was just like a kind of a Frankenstein, same kind of plot as Frankenstein, basically, right? It was modernized. It didn't really do anything for me. I was not expecting what happened next. The movie was called Island of Terror, and it had Peter Cushing in it. Edward Judd. Again, I'm still young. I'm still 8-ish, around there, maybe 8 or 9, possibly. And all I knew about this movie was that there was some kind of thing with a tentacle. That's all. And I didn't even know I'd recognize Peter Cushing's name, but I didn't know which one he was, right? So this is still me in my growth process of becoming a monster kid, right? So this movie comes on, and it's about this little Scottish island where these scientists are working on a cure for cancer. And of course, something goes dreadfully wrong. And when they end up creating these creatures that looks like a tortoise shell, right? And then they have a tentacle that comes out, that will come out of it. And if it grabs you, it dissolves all the calcium in your body and then sucks it out. So basically sucks your bones out of your body.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And the movie was actually directed by the guy who directed Horror of Dracula and The Curse of the Werewolf and all these great Hammer movies. It wasn't a Hammer movie, but it was, and it scared the living daylights out of me. I mean, I walked out of there like shaking. I was so scared. And even though it's like, I look back on the movie now and I still love it. And sometimes people look at the movie now and they look at the creatures in it and they're like, you can sometimes see the strings that are moving it or whatever. And when you're 9 years old, you don't see that shit.
No, right.
And so I literally, for a week at least, when I went to bed at night, did the thing where try to just tuck so that none of your appendages are outside, because if you didn't have an arm out there like that, the silicate thing couldn't grab onto you and suck your bones out. That was the first time I felt really scared. The only other one was that, and it wasn't while I was watching it that I got scared. It was afterward. And it was The Blob, the original Blob with Steve McQueen.
Mine was the remake. Oh, go on.
So I saw the movie at like my grandmother's house, right, on television. And there are several scenes in the original Blob where the Blob comes through like a grate, like a heat grate.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandmother had those same grates,
Oh.
right? So I wasn't scared per se of when I was watching the movie, but after that, I wouldn't go anywhere near those grates because it looked exactly
fair.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough.
And here's something else about that, though, which is really interesting. So at that point, I was already watching like older horror movies, the Universal movies, etc., right? And I think that the reason that like a movie like The Blob affected me more is because unlike the Universal movies, which were all set in these sort of gloomy, gothic European places where people wear lederhosen and shit, right? This was in my grandmother's backyard.
Yeah, Every Town
basically.
USA.
It's contemporary. It looks like that town looks like this town, and so that brings it way closer to home. and can actually reach out and get
Right.
you. So
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, mine, because on the first episode we talked about what scared us the most, and my 88, Blob 88.
I mean, I don't scare easily with movies. I can be affected by them, but as far as being like actually scared,
Yeah.
But Dawn of the Dead, 78.
Oh, yeah.
When I went home from that movie that night, I was very cautious about unlocking that door
Yeah.
and going into a dark room.
You avoided malls for
Yeah.
years. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, we have one final question for you, and this
Mhm.
is a biggie.
All right.
Who was your first horror crush?
Oh, boy. Oh, I know. Veronica Carlson.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I saw, I think it was a double feature of Dracula Has Risen from the Grave and Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed on a matinee like the other one I was just talking about. And she was in both of them.
Okay.
And she was beautiful, this beautiful long blonde hair. And
Jugs up to here.
The jugs.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it was a Hammer movie.
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
goes with the territory.
That's how I modeled.
So I think it was probably her. I mean, I had other crushes on television actresses. Marta Kristen from Lost in Space, who is actually now a really good friend of mine, which is really fun.
Yay.
Yvonne Craig from Batman. But as far as horror movies, it had to be Veronica Carlson.
Veronica.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
A little later, maybe Caroline Monroe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how did you get your very first start in the industry?
Okay. Like I said, I wanted to work in movies. I was living in New York. Most of the movie industry was on the West Coast. There was stuff being done in New York, but it was mostly soap operas, commercials, and things like that. But New York was more like theater and right. So I didn't have a lot of outlets to learn how things work. So one day, a friend of mine called me up and he said, "Hey, they're making a movie at my parents' mansion," because he lived in a very exclusive part of Port Washington, Sands Point, which is where John Cassavetes lived, and Perry Como and all these Allman Brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so he was like, "Why don't you come over and watch us make this movie?" Right. And I was like, "Cool, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Of course I'm going to go." And I thought, well, it's probably this independent movie. It's not like a big deal or anything like that. And I get there, and right away, as I pull up and I get out, I see there's a PA there, and I'm like, "Hey, where's?" And it's just, I'm like, okay, learned my first lesson right there, how to be quiet on set, right? And she says, "Okay, they're shooting around back." She's just like, very quietly, just go around the back, and you'll see them. They're set up. So I walk around the back of this big house, and the first thing I see is Martin Scorsese.
What?
Sitting behind the camera. And I know who he is. I recognize him immediately. I'm 19, I think, at this point, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And I see this huge crew.
Oh my
Like, how many people work on a movie? Holy cow. And then I look and see where the camera's pointed, and I see Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis.
No.
And
Oh.
so they were filming The King of Comedy. Didn't know the name of it at the time,
Wow.
right? And I spent that day watching Martin Scorsese direct De Niro and Lewis, and I watched the whole process. And so this was the first movie set a real movie set I was on, and I was taking all of it in. I was just like, what does that person do? What does this person do? Like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It was magical.
And you had no idea what you were walking into?
No,
You just walked in and saw
he
that?
he didn't tell me what the movie was. He just said they're making a movie.
Oh my gosh.
And that put a fire under me for sure. So now it was just like, so now I need to start really learning about this stuff. So I always do my homework when I'm interested in something. I've always liked research, how things are done, why things are done, et cetera, right? So I started to now read books about making movies and about people who make movies, right? So, but there was still hard to find an outlet, right? One day, out of nowhere, I was working in Manhattan, and I was working for this crazy toy inventor, right? It was as this guy who wanted to be like the next Milton Bradley. He was working out of his Upper West Side apartment, and he hired me to just do artwork for him and everything like that, but he was cuckoo.
Sounds like a horror movie right here.
He was also, I think, an estranged member of a very big Hollywood horror royalty. But I think that they didn't want anything to do with him because he was a little nuts.
Oh, no.
So I've been working for this guy for a little while. And one day I get a phone call there. And I'm not even sure how John found me there. But Stuart, my boss, says, "Oh, it's for you." And the person on the phone says, "Hey, Frank, it's John Fasano." And I hadn't talked to John in 10 years, maybe. I mean, since we both left Port Washington. And he said, "Hey, look, I don't know what you're up to these days, he goes, but I wrote a horror movie and they're going to be making it in Canada." And he said, "And there's a part in it that I think you'd be really good to play if you're interested." And I looked over at my boss, who was there designing a board game that you play with real cheese.
Oh, God.
I'm not even kidding.
Sounds
And
silly.
I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I think I would really very much like to audition for that movie." So I went and they put me on camera. They did an audition and I got the part. And so they flew me up to Montreal and I got to play a lead in my very first movie opposite one of my childhood heroes, Adam West.
Oh,
So cool.
wow.
And the movie also had Tia Carrera in it, which was her first movie. And even better, Sean Levy, who was
okay.
only 17 years old at the time. He was going to Yale and he was on break. It was summer and he was on break from Yale and he played this obnoxious kid, gets killed by the zombie. And I'm the cop investigating his murder.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that's a whole nother, believe me.
Oh, my
Yeah,
gosh.
my-
I want to
that-
watch that. Is it streaming anywhere? Do you know?
Well, Mystery Science Theater did it.
Well, that's the perfect way to watch.
Which actually saved that movie from disappearing forever, honestly.
Oh, I would be honored.
So when you decided you were going to be in the industry, did you want to be an actor?
Yes.
Okay.
I started out because I went to college as a theater major, art minor, and I loved acting. I really loved acting. I mean, going quickly back to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, what's so interesting about that movie being the first movie for me is that there are so many elements of that movie that ended up playing a part in my career later. Like, I remember after seeing that movie, like sitting in front of the bathroom mirror and like turning into the Wolfman, right? And then animation, the opening, even though the first time I saw it, I didn't see this, but the opening credits of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein are animated. It's a little cartoon. And I ended up being an animator. And then the comedy writing, which is brilliant in that film. I get hired to write comedies quite a lot. So it's interesting that all of those different pieces all ended up working into me later on. But I really loved acting. I still do. Any opportunity I get to act, I love to do it. And so my first movie was really just about the acting. But it's funny, as I went on and made other movies with John, I started to discover other things that caught my interest and sparked my imagination and my creative will. But I still loved acting. I loved acting with Adam West. I mean, that's the best.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How many people can say, "Oh yeah, I acted with Adam
yeah.
West"?
He was great on set. He was very generous. He would stay. He could have easily walked off when they were shooting the other angle, and he insisted on staying. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of, believe me, that movie was just a show making it. Okay. And that's in my book. There's a whole big chapter about making Zombie Nightmare because the director was incompetent. Thankfully, the rest of the crew was pretty good, but
You always have one of those.
Yeah.
Always one of those stories.
but it was so making those independent horror movies was my film school.
That's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of your book, Monsters, Movies, and Me,
Mm.
True Tales of My Journey into Cult Horror Films. Got to say the whole title. We'd love to talk more about that and how that came about, your inspiration for that. and,
Well,
you know.
it's funny, especially the first three movies I did with John Fasano. So Zombie Nightmare, Rock and Roll
I didn't know you
Nightmare,
did Zombie Nightmare.
and Black Roses have in the last few years suddenly developed this whole new audience. All right. Thanks partially to Joe Bob,
Mhm.
to Troma for acquiring Black Roses, Shudder, it's showing up on there all the time, etc. And so I would often be asked to go to a screening and do a live commentary while the movie is playing.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there are like podcasts and stuff where so we're going to be showing the movie and we'll talk with you while the movie's playing. And so I came down to kind of getting really used and very comfortable to doing these live commentaries and knowing right when to say the right punchline that's going to make the audience laugh. And they were so much fun and the audience just loved them. I mean, I've done quite a lot of them at this point. And so I was thinking maybe it's time for me to actually put this stuff down on paper rather than just be doing them live where it's just in the air.
Yeah.
And so originally the book was just going to be about the 4 movies that I did with John Fasano in Canada. And so I started writing about about Zombie Nightmare, and I sent a chapter of it to a publisher, and he came back right away, and he was just like, yeah, I want it. He was like, he sent me a contract like the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm like, okay, now I'm writing a book, right? I have to finish the book.
Right.
But then what happened was, as I'm writing basically what would become these middle chapters about how crazy it was making these movies,
Mm-hmm.
all the things that went wrong, sometimes hilariously wrong, sometimes catastrophically
I
wrong.
want to hear all about them.
Right. That it occurred to me, I was just like, well, okay, but if somebody's reading this book, are they going to ask, well, how did you get there? Like, what happened in your life that put you in this situation where you're now making these movies?
Mm-hmm.
Some of which I've just talked about, right? And then I thought after I decided I was going to do that, if this book is going to be a complete memoir to at least to this point,
Mm-hmm.
what happened after that? What did those 4 movies then lead to? Which led to a lot of things, animation, screenwriting, etc. And so the book sort of took on its own life. And the bulk of it, the whole center of the book is still the whole just really funny stories about making those 4 movies. But there's good stuff on either side as well. And I tried to write it in a very almost conversational way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very easy read and it's broken down into like very easy chapters. But it was a lot of fun basically revisiting all these different things. And I talk about my time at Disney Animation and then my screenwriting career and so forth. So there was a lot of really fun. I'd like to think that it's a fun read.
I'm really excited to read that because those are my favorite. I love just bios, memoirs, whatever's that just dive deep into the backstory. Because you want to hear what goes on behind the scenes.
Oh,
You've seen it in front. You want to know what goes behind. So that's exciting.
So tell us about your episode of Creepshow.
Oh, yeah. All right. So this is kind of funny. Now, Greg Nicotero, who's the showrunner, the creator of the TV series, of the Creepshow series, most people will know him, of course, for The Walking Dead.
Yeah, tight.
Greg and I have been friends for 25 years, something like that.
Wow.
Long time, right? And so I've in a way before The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to Atlanta a few years back and went to visit him on the set down in Sonoya. And, you know, they were filming an episode there, but Greg wasn't directing the episode. So we had some time to hang out. And I remember hanging in his office and he said, hey, I just acquired the rights to Creepshow.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. I was just like, that is very cool. I said, what are you thinking of doing with it? He goes, well, I want to do a series. I want to do an anthology series where you have a couple of segments in every episode. And I said, oh, like Night Gallery. And he was like, yes, exactly. Right.
That's so cool.
And so then we didn't talk about it for a while. And he started filming season 1, but he was filming it down in Atlanta. So I never saw him. And then all of a sudden it was just like, I think it was the same weekend as Son of Monsterpalooza. And he was there and he said, hey, Monday night, we're doing a premiere of Creepshow. You should come. I was like, cool. Oh yeah, of course. Thanks, buddy. And so I show up. It was at the Egyptian. And I was so jealous. I was jealous because so many of my friends were involved, right? So
A lot of mutuals were
yeah.
involved. Yeah.
David J. Scow
Uh-huh.
had written an episode.
Yes.
My
Excellent.
friend Chris Drake wrote the music.
Yep.
My friend Dana Gould that's acting in an episode,
yes.
right? And everybody was there and they were all celebrating. And I was just like, I want to play too.
Yeah.
wanna
I remember
play,
when
right?
that premiered.
It was really, it was really embarrassing that I was just like feeling like FOMO totally. And so I was just like, okay, well, maybe if they get picked up for season 2. So the minute that I heard that Shudder had renewed Creepshow, I literally sat down and wrote an entire episode in 2 days.
Wow.
And I didn't even write an outline. I wrote a whole 24-page episode. And I felt very good about it. I sent it to I sent it directly to Greg. I didn't go through my manager. I didn't want it to go all the way around to come back around to Greg. And long story short, basically he read it, he loved it,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "I'm going to submit this to the network right away." And he says, because they have to approve it.
Yeah.
Like he says, yes, it's my show, but they still have to approve all the scripts. So he sent it to them. They came back right away. They loved it. They sent me a contract. It's just like it happened all so fast, right?
Wow.
And so we were set to shoot it down in Atlanta. And I had my flight to go down and be on set. And that was March of 2020.
Oof.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah. So
Oh.
we all know what happened then. Everything shut down. Everything shut down. And so by the time that the protocols were all in place and that they could begin shooting again, which wasn't until October.
That's right.
At that point, those protocols were so strict that only people who absolutely had to be on set were
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah.
So I did not get to go on set.
Wow.
But I was still very happy that the episode was being shot, and I was thrilled with the cast. Keith David had been, I was a fan for years.
That's so cool.
right?
And which episode was this, by the way?
Pesticide. it's called,
Pesticide.
yeah.
Okay.
And Ashley Lawrence, who I'd met briefly,
Oh,
right?
She's lovely.
I love her.
And then what was funny is before early on when they were still like building all the creatures for it, because there was a lot of like giant kind of insects and things in it.
Mhm.
We were trying, Greg and I were going back and forth because Greg and I collaborated on the script. Like I would do a draft, I'd send it to him, he would make suggestions, I would change it and send it back. We did about, 6 or 7 different drafts of it.
Mhm.
But we were trying to think of who would play the lead, who was this slimy exterminator guy, right? Who basically makes a deal with the devil. And he had thrown out a couple of names, and none of them, I guess they weren't available or whatever. And I was thinking about it. So I watched The Walking Dead like that night, and Josh McDermott,
Oh,
who plays Eugene
Had a crush on you.
on The Walking Dead, I was like watching him. I think, you know what? He might be good to play Harlan. So I text Greg and I said, look, I just had a thought that maybe I'd met Josh at Greg's house before. I said, maybe Josh would be cool to play Harlan. What do you think? I sort of got Greg texted me back 5 minutes later. He said, that's funny because I already hired him.
He looks
Oh my
like a
God.
Harlan.
I was
Oh my
like,
God.
well, I guess that was meant to be.
I love
right?
him. Is he cool?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, God, Josh is great.
I love him.
Yeah.
I want to be his
Yeah.
best friend.
Oh, he's
Josh, do you hear? Josh
very
is
funny.
He's listening. He's watching. So
Josh.
come on, be our best friend.
He's very funny. I mean, he started out in doing stand up and so forth. So
I love him.
He's very funny. He's a very nice guy. Super nice guy. And it was funny for all the years prior to that I'd been a screenwriter, and I had not worked in television. Everything I had done had been feature films.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was never in the union
Oh, okay.
Right?
yeah.
because if it wasn't a signatory project, you didn't get invited to join. But writing an episode of Creepshow put me in the Writers Guild after 30 years of being a writer.
That's
it was
amazing.
so funny. And I'm very proud of that episode. I love it. It's so funny. We had 5 different endings like at one point. And but I was thrilled. I wrote some other spec episodes, which didn't get made for a variety of reasons. And what happens with shows like this is that they start off very strong and the network is supportive financially. But as the seasons go on, they sort of pull back on the budgets and pull back on the budgets. And its thing is, if you're making a show about monsters, you need to have the budget to have monsters in it. Yeah. And I think that became a bit of an issue at the time. But, I mean, obviously Greg wasn't going to stick with that show forever anyway. He's got other things to do. I mean, he's so talented, and he's my brother. I love him.
I love that. I mean, that just goes to show I had an acting teacher whose principle always stuck with me, and that was be courteously aggressive. So that just goes to show you, if you have a will, you find a way, as long as you are courteously aggressive. Not aggressive, but courteously aggressive.
Not arrogantly.
No, and that's how you get stuff done. That's amazing.
Well, on that note, let's get into Black Roses.
Ooh, all right. A small town teacher attempts to save teenage souls from a heavy metal rocker and his band from hell. That's it.
Yep.
That's straight to the point.
I like
Very
it.
straight to
Short
the point.
and sweet.
That's the shortest one that we have ever done. Love it.
All right, so this movie starts with this big rock concert.
Yes.
And from what I heard, that's something they picked up later that wasn't.
Yeah, the opening scene with the band, where the band are all in the demon makeup, was shot months and months after we finished. In fact, that was shot in New York. The whole rest of the movie, except for a couple of pickup shots and the scene with the Big Pussy from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
That was also shot in New York, but the whole rest of the movie was shot in Toronto, or near Toronto.
Okay.
In Canada. Yeah.
And I love that. Again, there's that song we're probably going to talk about a lot. The Lizzie Borden.
Yeah. And that's what's funny is that all the rest of the songs in the movie were written by Carmine Appice and his band, because we no longer had access to Carmine when we did the pickups. We basically had to pay for a cool song that we could then lip sync to for that concert scene.
I just want to watch it right now. It is the best. It encapsulates the 80s so much. Just the way they look, the way they sound, that entire scene. It's like, what the is going on? Don't know if this is the end or the beginning.
Honestly, the wig department for Black Roses deserves an award. There is so much great 80s hair.
Sal Viviano, who played Damien, had that great big shock of that red hair. And Sal is a natural redhead.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah. But that wasn't his real hair, obviously. Yeah. And what's also kind of funny about Sal is that, and a lovely guy, we're still very good friends. He doesn't actually sing in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's a Broadway actor.
Wow,
he performs in musicals on Broadway and has Broadway shows, so he could sing, but I guess because the songs were recorded probably even before he was cast. And I'm not absolutely sure about this. I talk about this a little in the book, but I never got clarification on it. And I think since John Fasano is no longer with us, I think maybe Cindy, his ex-wife Cindy, could maybe say whether it's true or not. But I do believe that originally the script was written to be a vehicle for John Michael Thor. And because we had worked with Thor on the two previous films, but I believe that there was a sort of something happened where
falling out.
There was some kind of falling out. And I think, and believe me, I love John Thor, but I think that what Sal Viviano brought to the character of Damien is something that it's sexy and it's venomous at the same time. It's something that I don't know that John could have brought to the character.
He's very alluring. He almost has a very vampiric quality, which is interesting. Because
I was going to say he's kind of classy.
He's
yes.
And the words I was going to choose for him were he's very pretty, which would make sense because rockers were very pretty, but he's a different kind of pretty. He's classy. Yeah, he's very proper almost. Like you want to
Well, the
So-
guy performs like Frank Sinatra tribute shows on Broadway.
That's so
So
funny.
maybe that's part of that is sort of
Right.
carrying
background.
through.
That's
One of my favorite scenes is the scene where he doesn't have the wig on and he's talking
Oh,
to
yeah.
John Martin, and it's this very sly kind of cat and mouse
Yeah.
little scene that you could probably even remove it from the movie and you wouldn't notice, but I love that it's in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's very
Um,
sassy.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we got to talk about the sort of the title card opening, the
Oh
second
my
opening,
gosh,
because
yes.
it has forever given me an obsession with Lamborghini Countachs. Like,
Yeah.
how did you guys afford two?
I don't know. I honestly, that was John and Cindy just pulling a rabbit out of their hat. Honestly, I was there when they were filming those opening scenes. We were filming it at 6 o'clock in the morning because there's nobody on the streets,
Right.
obviously. And I just remember everybody being so careful.
Yeah.
Because these cars were so expensive.
Oh my
They're
god.
still so expensive.
I'm too
Like,
scared.
because of Black Roses, I tried to get a Lamborghini Countach
Is
in my
that
last
why?
movie. Yes.
Oh
And
my-
I was obsessed. I've tried everything. And even now, we could not get it in our budget because
Yeah.
renting
Oh,
one for
wow.
a day is like
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But those are the coolest cars ever.
Oh my
Yeah.
Like,
gosh.
that is
We-
the most metal thing
I
ever.
feel like there was some kind of quid pro quo there, some kind of some equitable exchange. You know what I mean? Maybe not money, but just some. All right, well, we'll let you use the cars if you maybe even like product placement. Maybe it's
Yeah.
something in the end credits. I've never even noticed, honestly, if that's what was pulled off. But it's a great opening,
It's so awesome.
and then that little animated
Drives
Black
over it.
Roses that sweeps in,
Yes,
which
love it.
caught me by surprise. I didn't know they were doing that until I saw the first cut, and I was like, "Hey, that's cool. That looks pro." Meanwhile, I'm just going, "Oh, let's see where I am in the credits. 1, 2, 3,
Oh, of course. Of course.
5.
Yeah.
5. Woo!
That's my favorite thing as an actor. Where the credits.
Y'all are sociopaths. That's okay. I get that director
It's
card.
okay. It's okay.
No, I'm kidding. And then we go to this creepy stepdad.
Mm.
Like all
Immediately.
the parents in this movie are terrible.
Paul
Immediately,
Kellman,
yeah.
who, by the way, was the star of My Bloody Valentine.
That's right. There was
Oh,
a connection with my Bloody
okay,
Valentine a little
okay.
bit. Yeah.
I did not pick up on that.
I read that and
Um,
I had no idea. It's just really funny. Like right off the bat, you have to have the creepy stepdad.
Yeah.
But it's okay because the teenagers are 30. So
Well, yeah. Also, since what's inevitably going to happen is some murders.
Yes.
It's a way to
payoff.
somewhat justify,
of course.
right?
Uh,
Certain deaths, not all of them, obviously, but certain ones.
oh
Right.
no.
The evil stuff. Come on, the
Pays
sleazy
off.
stepdad is an easy one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, I clocked that instantly. I was like, oh, I can't wait for this guy to die.
Oh, yeah.
But also in horror movies, there's also a character like that just basically has doom written across his
Yep.
forehead
Yes.
from
Yep.
the very beginning, right?
You're like, I see you.
Yeah.
I'll
And-
pick him up.
but they really set this up that there's this like small town that everyone's stuck in. There's no way out. And I think your character really portrays this the teen angst of like wanting something more in life, but
Mhm.
realizing that this might just be it.
Yeah.
And I think we see this right away in this movie when we get to this class, and it's for some reason it's all poetry.
Oh, I'm hot for
It's all
teacher in
tra-
this movie.
Oh no, I wrote
Ooh.
that he is
Burt
Burt
Reynolds,
Reynolds,
motherfucker.
sexy teacher.
So hot.
He was a total pro, and he was a nice
Oh,
guy.
That's great.
I mean, we did hang out one night.
Were y'all the same
I'll
age?
tell you about it.
Because I'd like to know
Oh.
if y'all were the same age.
No, he's gonna be older.
He was older. He was definitely
Oh, I wanna
he was
hear about
probably, I would say he was 10 years older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I was 27 when we made that movie. And I think that Karen, Patricia, most of the rest of the leads were
Mhm.
also around that age or
Okay.
maybe a little younger.
Okay.
We all had to be over 18, obviously, because then you get involved with have tutor on set and
Right.
the amount of hours that you're allowed to
Yeah.
work, and it costs more money and blah, 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 which is why that's why everybody makes fun about how the teenagers in movies are always look like too old, but there's a reason for
But
it.
I love
Yeah.
that.
You know, I couldn't, honestly, I couldn't catch a break because in Zombie Nightmare, I caught because everyone thought I was too young to be the detective.
Ah.
And then in Black Roses 2 years later,
Too
I
old.
get because I'm too old to be a high schooler. So
you hit that too old, too young point
Yep.
too soon.
yeah.
I want to hear stories about sexy teacher and y'all.
Well, we went out. We had a night off. There was a big strip club, famous strip club called Billy Rose's something.
Billy
Right?
Roses, how fitting.
Yeah, but it was huge. It wasn't like your normal looking strip club. This was like an opera house,
Oh my gosh.
right? And I mean, apparently it was one of the biggest ones in all of Canada.
Is that how they do it in
And
Canada?
yeah,
Opera
and
house,
so we went, and I'm to be very honest, I don't like those places. I'm very uncomfortable there.
yeah.
But I'm not going to not go if everybody's going. So we
Right.
go, and John Martin we sat up in one of the like upstairs booths because I think that because he was on General Hospital, he didn't necessarily want to be down where he
Right.
can be seen. But he bought all of us lap dances.
Oh, boy.
Oh man.
Uh,
Fun.
And look, when in Rome.
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. When else are you going to have a lap dance
yeah.
in Canada and an opera
But no,
house?
he was great. He was really pro. He was great to work with. He never showed any kind of like Hollywood. He was there to do the work.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
And so that was great. And we did come out for a night of fun. So that was great.
Oh.
He was okay. I mean, I definitely had more fun hanging out with Patricia and Karen and Tony Bua.
Mm.
And I had worked with Tony on Zombie Nightmare. And Tony was actually a special effects guy. He wasn't even an actor.
Wow.
Tony and Andy Clement, who's now like a star here in LA as far as FX work. They were the two that did all the makeups for Zombie Nightmare.
Oh.
That's one of their first films.
Okay. Wow.
But Tony also imagined himself as a stuntman and an actor.
Right.
And so John let him play Tony.
Oh, I love it.
And so I had a lot of scenes with Tony, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
But I think I mostly hung out with Tony and Patricia and Sal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because right off the bat, like all the other kids are good kids. You're a little rascal from the start.
Right.
Like, you were just not having this. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a fun dynamic between you and Matt. It's Matt, right?
Yes.
I love that it's like your first scene with Julie and you're running around the streets and
Yes.
it looks like you're about to like,
singing in the rain.
yeah,
About to, like,
you're
bust
just
out.
hanging off everything and you were just like ready. Like my grandpa would have called you a half puppy dog. that would have been the term.
If you want, I have two quick stories about
Yes.
shooting that night. So we were shooting very late at night, and you guys know, you're in the industry, that if you're shooting an exterior someplace that has public access, you're going to get looky-loos who are going to come
Yeah.
and they're going to watch for a little while, and they usually watch for at most an hour, and they get bored because they see how boring it is to actually make a movie, right? And I always think about this great line from Michael Caine where he was making a movie and this PA came up to him and said, I guess they were taking a long time to tweak the lights or whatever. And the PA was like, "Oh, Mr. Caine, I'm so sorry that this is taking so long." And he said, "My dear, you pay me to sit here and wait around. The acting I do for free." Isn't that awesome?
I love Mike
But that's
Cocaine.
the thing is that as actors, we spend way more time
Yep.
waiting than we do actually acting, right?
Yep.
Anyway, so it's kind of a little bit of a chilly night and it's late. And you've seen the scene, so you know how much energy I have to keep in every shot. I am jumping up on things. I'm spinning around poles. I'm
Yeah.
jumping over fences, right?
Got to get that high school kid energy.
And so to keeping up that adrenaline is really important,
Mhm.
right? So at one point, I was feeling goofy and they were setting up, doing another setup, and Karen had her back turned to me several feet away. And so just to be funny, I just came up behind her and I grabbed her around the waist and I picked her up and I spun her around and she went, Frank, what? She was like, "I only have underpants on under this skirt." And I realized that I had just flashed her undergarments to the entire bunch of looky-loos who were behind the stands right there, right? And I just felt like such an asshole. I was just like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was trying to be funny." Like, she was great. She forgave me pretty quickly, but But the other thing and this is kind of interesting. Originally, what John wanted the character to do, me, Johnny Pratt, was not the paint the town red thing with the paint can.
Mhm.
He wanted me to streak. He wanted me to take all my clothes off and go running down the street naked. That when all the parents come out of the meeting, that they're going to
Oh,
see this
no.
naked kid, right?
Gosh.
Thank Christ
Oh.
that we changed that plan, because that night it was about 1:00 in the morning, and we were in the middle of, Karen and I were in the middle of filming the scene where we're like, I'm starting to paint the street, and we hear all this commotion. What's going on? What the hell? And it turns out at 1:00, the bar was shutting down.
Oh no.
And all these drunks were coming out, and they
Oh.
apparently did not appreciate that we had closed off their street,
Oh gosh.
and they started throwing stuff, and the cops had to come,
Oh my gosh.
and the cops took care of it very quickly. I mean, we had all our permits and everything like we were supposed to.
Yeah.
But I just thought to myself, thank God I'm not naked right now.
Oh. We're going streaking in the quad. Bring your black rose.
So that was a fun night.
Oh my gosh. I got so
Now I did
enthralled that I
get
lost my
naked in
place.
the movie in another scene.
like
Um,
full ass
Oh,
naked.
completely.
Oh, because the
naked.
rules were different back then.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You don't have to talk
Mm.
about it.
Ugh. So yeah, and then there's this whole the parents committee,
Oh
These
my gosh. Like the
parents.
Footloose, freaking horror metal
Mhm.
Footloose.
right?
They come, that's when not Tipper Gore is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
As
yeah.
the Julie
Mhm.
Adams is like the
She's got-
satanic music, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So the parents, they're all just like, why don't we watch them? See how it is. And then he puts on this very, I was trying to think of the
My little
artist who he
town.
reminded me of, but the giant trench coat with the
Yeah.
giant shoulders reminded me of a little like Howard Jones.
Oh my gosh,
Just
Yeah,
like,
right.
when
oh.
when they all come out in the white coats, I was just like, y'all, are you gonna flash everybody?
Like, this is very like, where's the saxophone?
And he's doing his like Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you mean
Mhm.
Bob Stewart?
Uh,
Rock and roll
different
nightmare
movie.
reference. Oh my gosh.
But it's so funny because you just know that thing is coming off. He's
Yeah.
gonna whip it off.
Are they about to strip?
And
And I
Like,
love
what's-
that Julie is too goody two shoes. She's just not having it. She's sitting there like, no. Then he like throws her the black
Yeah.
rose. She's like, all right.
I mean, to be fair, when I saw the Backstreet Boys in the front row, Howie gave my mom a rose, and I get it.
so
It makes sense.
Nice.
Oh my god! And I love how quickly the parents just give up. They're like, "Oh, this is
Yeah,
fine."
I think it's okay. That's very 80s parents of them.
Oh my god! Yes. And then he whips that coat off, and he's just wearing his latex thing.
Oh my
Which-
gosh. Is that Soldier of the Night? Is that the song in
I
that
think
scene?
that's it.
Yeah,
That's such an
because he does like
Yeah.
the song about like his hometown, but
Town, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
it's obviously very much about hell if you listen to it.
Oh yeah. I love that. Yeah, they have their like Alfred gear on.
Oh my
So
gosh, I know. I have so many
Oh.
questions about those costumes.
I love it. I love how, I mean, yeah, I guess you associate that with metal, whatever. Judas Priest does a lot of that. It's just like,
It's very
it
fetish.
just feels very fetish. Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
And he sells it too.
He does. He's great.
Oh, Sal's great.
I love him.
Sal's an actor. I mean,
Yeah.
Sal's a real, an actual actor.
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, a real life actor.
not a bodybuilder wrestler.
Oh my gosh.
What was it like just seeing them walk around in those outfits?
Well, here's the thing about that was we filmed those scenes in over 2 nights. We rented out this theater, and I was sick as a dog for those
No.
2 nights, right? And it wasn't a thing where I could not be there. I had to be there because they put me and Tony and Patricia and Karen pretty much like right in the front. But I was sick, and you want to talk about going into golden time. Oh my God, we went so over
Oh wow.
because we had to finish all these concert scenes, including the climax of the movie, which involved
Oh.
all kinds of pyrotechnics and
Were all the concert
monsters.
scenes shot at the same time?
all the
Or-
ones that are in the stuff we shot in Canada.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all in 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
That's
So,
a
and
lot.
I was, so every time, like, whenever the band is playing and we know that the camera is on us, I had to be like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this. And then the minute they'd call cut, I'd be like,
Oh,
like, oh my
gosh.
God, please be done.
trooper.
Don't say back to one. Please don't say back to one, you know.
How many times do you
Oh.
think they had to shoot
Oh,
that?
it felt like we really were shooting 48 hours straight.
Oh God.
It was really brutal. And also we literally had a auditorium full of, they were high school kids.
Wow.
So we all gave them all Black Roses t-shirts, and they were great. I mean, they all did what they were supposed to do and
Right.
everything like that. But between having to wrangle that many extras, I feel like Damien had to go through 2 or 3 makeup changes.
Oh yeah, because of his.
So
Oh.
because he slowly becomes, or not slowly, but he becomes the reptile demon.
Right.
And so that required having to shut down for a while, which I was like, thank God,
Yeah.
because it would take an hour or so or more to remove whatever was there first
Oh,
and then put on the new
gosh.
stuff. And then when he's finally the reptile demon, that's not even Sal anymore. That's a guy that,
Yeah.
one of the effects guys in there. But then you've got the fire and you've got the sparks and oh my God, there was so much involved in that 2 days.
Wow.
I don't know how we got through it, honestly.
You
But
would've
we only
never known.
had that theater for 2 days,
Yeah.
so you had to get it done.
Magic of
No,
filmmaking.
if you had asked me, I would have guessed a week.
Mhm.
I would have never known
Yeah.
otherwise. That's amazing.
And I love so after the first concert, there's this major shift in the kids, transcendental poetry.
Right.
And was there a reason that they chose those specific poets like Emerson and
That would be, because the script was mostly written by Cindy Sorrell, who was married to John at the time.
Mhm.
And I think she was an English lit major.
Okay.
So she was calling upon what she knew and trying to find ways that it would make sense to apply to what Matt is trying to teach his students and how it might work in reverse.
Okay.
I don't know that I don't remember there being any changes to any of the choices
Mhm.
in the script. I just know that I went to bat for myself to get more scenes.
Yeah, because this is like your big scene, like you're telling him off and you're
Yeah.
just like not having it, which is great.
I love that moment, actually. That's one of my favorite little bits because I get to do the Harrison Ford School of Pointing acting. I'm not gonna let that happen. But it's funny. I actually did go to John and Cindy after I read the script, and I said I felt like my character sort of disappears a little more than halfway through, and I made suggestions, and they teased me, of course, about you just want more screen time or whatever. But that wasn't really it wasn't really that. It was I really did feel like they had set up Johnny to be sort of to be the person who's putting Matt on the spot, and then it just sort of stops. And so I suggested a couple of scenes where Johnny could still be a presence through it. And they agreed to all of it, including the very last shot of me, which wasn't in the script, where the firemen are taking me away and he starts screaming, "Where's my father?" Well, as if he's come out of this trance.
Yeah, which is really dark.
I know.
So that was me. That was my idea. And thankfully, John and Cindy agreed with it. But it's funny because when Joe Bob showed Black Roses not that long ago, he even said, he was like, he said, I have a question for Frank Dietz. Like, what happened to your character? But asking them to place me specifically throughout that last third of the movie at least kept it consistent,
Mhm.
that the character was still, because it really becomes about Julie and Matt
Mhm.
at a certain point, right?
Yeah.
So that's why there's a scene in the library where Julie comes up to Matt and he's been like studying in the library, and she
Yeah.
starts telling him that he's that she's going to the concert again, and that it's not enough. She needs more from him now,
Yeah.
right? And they just show me like
Yeah, you're just
almost
skulking.
well, I'm
Like,
kind of like
yeah.
almost like I'm her bodyguard or something.
Yeah.
Like again, that was something that I suggested, and luckily they were cool with.
Yeah.
Which is the dynamic between them is so weird because up until he says no, it's a little bit of a blurred line.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there's
Like-
definitely tension for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I also like in that scene, like you do the upside down
Yeah.
words.
Yes.
As I said, you're a rascal.
Mhm.
That's the best word
I
that you
based.
could use.
I honestly, this is true. I based Johnny on my younger brother Johnny,
Oh, wow.
who John Fasano knew because, like I said, we grew up in the same town,
Yeah.
right? My brother, very different from me, definitely more of a wild card. He was cooler, he was tougher. He was not a theatrical person like I was. He was somebody who would worked on cars, and so the swagger that I have when I'm playing Johnny, like on the street scenes and so forth, that's my brother. That's
Oh my
completely my brother.
Gosh, wow.
And I'm pretty sure that John named the character Johnny after my brother.
That's so
Aw.
funny.
I love that.
And so it was great. And then John probably knew. He probably was just like, Frank will just play his brother. Because I
That's
did not,
perfect.
by the way, I did not have to audition for this movie. After Zombie Nightmare, I didn't have to audition again.
Oh, wow.
John Fasano referred to me, I've heard him say this in a couple of interviews, that he said, Frank Dietz was my Ward Bond. And meaning that Ward Bond was a character actor that was in almost every one of John Ford's movies, several of the Westerns.
Oh.
John Ford put Ward Bond in in every one of his movies because it was almost like a little good luck charm to him.
Oh, my God.
So that's why I'm in all four of the Canadian four, as we call them.
That answers the question that I've been wondering this entire time we've been watching this stuff. Where are we now?
We
Is
are at
the first kill.
no, we're at where the kids start fighting outside.
Oh,
in the
that's
streets.
right. Oh,
I was like, kids, aka stuntmen.
the youths, the affected youths, and then there's this one guy in the background who's clearly 56. Nowhere. It's like, where did you come from?
I just love when like he like picks the guy up.
Oh yeah,
that was Tony.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
But it's
Tony lived for that stuff. Oh my God.
the
He
stunt-
loved it.
And then we get that really weird scene that you started talking about earlier with
Yes.
Damien. He's got the wig off. And it's this weird, he's like testing Matt, but he's
Mhm.
also flattering him. Like, you're famous.
Yeah.
What does he
I-
what?
feels
I-
like a vampire. to
I've known your
me.
soul for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I love that.
And like, I don't know if Matt's just oblivious because a lot of things that people are saying
think
to
he
him are
is.
just going right over his head.
I really think he is.
Well, plus he's in that
yeah.
stupid bumblebee sweater. too,
Right.
Like,
Oh my
The Halloween, the orange and black
Yeah.
looking sweater.
I just love that.
Mm.
Those are the two. I mean, I'm the person on the podcast who I'm a little hoey, but I just always talk about just how hot people are. And those are my two types. You got,
Those are both attractive men.
those are both the two polar opposites of attraction on my attraction meeting.
Mhm.
Oh my god!
But I like when they talk, it's like the devil and the angel.
Mhm.
I love that dynamic.
and then we're at our first kill alert.
First kill alert.
mm,
I don't know. Is that how it goes?
Mm, mm.
First kill alert. We'll figure it out.
So I wrote Italian dad goading his son.
Ah, yes.
Big pussy.
Vincent Pastore.
As two Italian women, we're allowed to point out Guidos
We are?
in movies because there's
Okay.
a
The
lot involved in this
Sopranos,
movie.
from The
Yeah,
Sopranos.
that was Vincent's first movie. Also.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
So this was a few years before The Sopranos.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And he just happened to live like the area that John and Cindy lived, just up above Manhattan, and that's where we shot that entire scene and some pickups and the first concert also.
gosh,
So,
okay.
but months after, because the distributor looked at the first cut of the movie and said, "We need more monsters and more boobs."
That's always when
Yep.
you
Sure.
need to fill up a space.
Mhm.
Except in the case of Rock and Roll Nightmare, you need more monsters and more boobs.
Same thing happened with that movie. So, yeah.
And a car ride, which I can't wait to talk about.
But I love it. I mean, even in the time when you could get away with saying the types of things that the dad was saying,
Oh my gosh.
it was like obviously that set him up to get killed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm like, all right, good on you, Black Roses. But it's such a fun death. It's
Yeah.
such a rock and roll death.
Oh my gosh, that scene is so good, and the
Yeah.
record just starts melting and bubbling.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Bua, who played Tony,
Yeah.
did all of that, all of those
Oh,
effects.
really?
He
Wow.
made the record. He made the
Oh my
lobster
gosh.
creature.
Was it like bladders or something?
Oh
Or
yeah, yeah. Well, it's the 80s. Bladders
Everything's
were
bladders.
all over the 80s.
You know what? I love me a
Mm.
good bladder.
Mhm.
I'd rather see a good bladder than some CGI effects today. So
Sure.
I
It's
say it
really
every episode.
fun.
Yeah.
I love those effects. I love puppetry. I love how it's clearly, obviously, it looks like not in the movie, but in general. I love the 80s effects where you can tell it's puppetry.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Oh my
So
God.
much.
When he's like getting dragged into the speaker, and then you look down and the record says death on
Yes.
it.
And he just like burps.
It's good.
It's so good.
A plus.
So
Thumbs up.
we spent a whole afternoon lying on the floor. Me, Tony, Vincent, obviously, lying. Tony and I were trying to puppeteer the creature, and of course, Vincent is just playing the father, trying to not get eaten.
Right.
But we're just laying on this floor like we're like hours shooting this thing. I have just a couple of. I think I have at least one picture in the book of us filming that.
I don't know if I read this correctly, but did you? So you helped on the effects?
Yeah.
in this. Okay.
I did on the reshoots.
Okay, on the reshoots. Which
Yeah.
effects were those?
Well, some of them didn't end up in the final movie. The funniest one is there's one scene where it's supposed to be Julie about to go to kill her sleazy stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Karen was in Canada. We couldn't bring her down, but we
Okay.
had her costume. So we hired this gal who was going to basically just show her boobs, right?
Okay.
I didn't know that's what they were going to do, but John told me is what he wanted me to do. One of the effects he wanted me to do was to make a demon hand for her,
Okay.
right? So, I mean, I just used my hand because I didn't know who the girl was going to be,
Right.
Right. And I sculpted this thing in clay, and John came over to the house and he looked at it. He said, it's too much. It needs to be more subtle. He literally took the clay tool and he scraped it down and made
Oh,
it, right?
wow.
I was like, okay, well, that's fine. He's a director. That's what he wants.
Right.
So, and I ran it in foam and everything like that. And then we went to shoot it. And they went, because it was a closed set downstairs, they were shooting down in the basement. They put the prosthetic on her. They went down there to shoot it. And
Mhm.
I didn't see any of it until I saw the call them dailies or whatever. And I laughed out loud because I didn't know she was going to be playing with her. And so meanwhile, I did all this work to make this prosthetic on her hand,
Yeah.
right? And nobody is looking at that hand.
You know what though? It is memorable because of that.
Uh,
You got to play with the in the 80s.
well, yeah, I know. But I just thought it was so funny that for working on that thing for weeks, and then the truth is, it was a waste of time, honestly.
No.
And especially because he told me to take it down. That it was
It was getting in the way of the
right,
movie.
yeah. Oh my God, so funny. But I did. There were some other effects that I had done, like when I shoot my father. We had done this whole arm that was kind of like from Videodrome, where
Oh.
the veins came out of the arm and wrapped around the gun. And we shot it. We shot all this stuff. But then the problem sometimes when you do a reshoot like that after something that was filmed many months before is getting it to match.
Yeah.
And you can tinker with it and color timing and everything
Yeah.
like that. But sometimes you just can't get it to
Yeah.
work. And so you just was like, well, oh well.
Oh man.
Because I had done a lot of the effects stuff on Rock and Roll Nightmare, so I already had that.
Oh, that's
I
yeah.
had that knowledge. Tony Bua taught me most of it, actually.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
see, I love that because I didn't know that before. I
Yeah.
looked
Mhm.
into this movie more, and I think that's incredible.
Mhm.
I love that.
I always try to learn everything. You know?
No, and that's great.
Part of it's the ADD, but the other part is just interest. you know,
Yes,
right? So,
it's just fascinating.
Yeah.
All the world is people don't realize how much work goes behind the camera.
yeah.
All right, so we're back to Matt drives through town seeing all the kids being assholes.
Yep. Mhm.
We're down to we're getting to the good stuff here.
It's my favorite note. Priscilla's a
She really is. They
She
call
co-
her
yeah.
the Ice Queen, and she lives up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a horrible freaking line. Bred morons teaching the morons the alphabet.
Trying to say that being a teacher is a bad job. Was that a bad job ever? Because I'm sorry, but we need teachers.
Everybody in this movie acts like Matt is just not living up to his potential. I'm like, he's a teacher. What do you
Teacher,
expect from
and
him?
he's passionate about it.
Yeah, I think that it was on purpose. What's really funny, I'm surprised that the mayor isn't a jerk,
Oh,
because usually isn't the mayor always the
mayor's
jerk,
always a jerk,
No,
right?
he does
You know,
not live to the
and,
Jaws rules.
no.
Was playing him as a very nice guy.
the trauma films too.
Yeah.
The mayor's always. Oh,
And then we start. I mean, our deaths are going to start piling up here.
Yep.
But we've got Mr. Miller. This scene, oh my god! I'm like, it feels like a porno.
it gets a little scary because you're like, I really hope it doesn't go the way that
Like,
it looks like it
Is this
might
dude
go.
playing strip cards with his daughter?
No, it's not.
No,
No, because Patricia, who plays Janie, she leaves before they start
Got
playing
it.
strip.
No,
Okay.
and that's exactly why. Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
Like when she leaves.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
glad it's not at least
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah.
But the teenager is 30, so it's okay.
Well, she talked about this in the book, but you talked about this on the reunion too.
Yeah.
She was terrified to be topless
Oh,
in the
no.
scene. She drank a whole bottle of wine beforehand.
Oh,
And the guy who played Mr. Miller is a very funny guy, really nice guy.
Yeah.
He said he was like, yeah, she was just back there pounding this.
You know what? I would too.
She basically had to get hammered to do the scene. And she was obviously nice, but she was terrified. But hey, she upheld her commitment,
Yeah.
which on 2 earlier movies, girls who were supposed to get naked in their scenes showed up and then refused.
I mean, yeah,
So,
it's
you know,
scary. It's
yeah.
scary. And you guys didn't have intimacy coordinators
No.
back then.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
My sex scene in Black Roses,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is very
you had
dark,
it
very dark. I mean,
naked.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it wasn't when we filmed it. It was bright and I am completely naked.
Got
And
boobies.
and the woman who I end up having to fake for 45 minutes, I met her literally a minute before we got into the
Don't you
bed.
love this career?
I'm like, hi, how do you do? Okay.
It's so weird.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
These
Uh,
scenes
it-
are always so uncomfortable.
it was
Yeah.
bizarre. The only fun thing that's really funny about it is that John Fasano and I knew each other so well for so long. We were both huge horror movie fans. So when John is directing the scene as me and this woman, I don't even remember her name, honestly, we're rolling around and we're jumping on each other and all this stuff. And Fasano is calling out directions, but he's using scenes from other horror movies to direct me.
Oh my god.
So he's Frank, the Howling Frank.
I love how
and
I know exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So John and I were speaking a language that only he and I understood.
love it.
So I was howling. I was like, got it. Get up on my haunches and,
Get-
and throw my head back.
If
Right.
only the director for the episode of Sex Sent Me to the ER did that for me, I would get it. It was more just silence and kiss but with no tongue for a minute straight.
Well, it kind of reminds me, Frank and I met like over 10, 15 years ago. A lot of the old horror directors, the OG kind of guys
Yeah.
that were still around, like Clu Gallagher,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they all used to hang out Thursday nights at Timmy Nolan's.
Yep.
Oh,
Sure.
And they would tell stories. And I was like, I hadn't even,
Yeah.
I think I directed like one short at a time. So they loved to give me advice. And one of the first things they ever told me is, got nude scenes? Yeah. Okay, well, you're going to shoot those first, because if you don't,
Mhm.
then your actors can, like, 3 days in after you've got all this footage of them, they can bail.
That's a
Yep.
great, yeah.
And I mean, and it feels a little sleazy, but at the same time, if someone consensually knows what they signed up
Right.
for,
Mhm.
Human nature says, okay, I get it. I get why you would chicken out and why it's scary.
yeah, they're like, shoot it
Commitment.
first. They're like, shoot the sex scenes first, shoot the
Mhm.
nudity first. Doesn't matter how awkward it is. Don't Look Now. That was the first scene that they shot.
Oh my god, that was the first one they shot in that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The scene that I did was the third night. So it was
Oh.
way early in.
Yeah.
And I was glad about that because I was just like, at least I got it over with.
Yeah.
And it was a very weird situation. Hadn't done.
Whole
I mean,
crew of
I'd
people
done
just-
plays. I was an Equus. I'm not a
different.
shy
It's-
person by
right.
any means,
It's just
but it's different. It's
yeah.
Oh.
When you're on stage and you're naked and you've been on camera and you're naked, it's like a club that you're in that you know
Yeah.
exactly what it feels like. And stage,
Yeah.
you're in the moment in stage. It's like, it's actually not that big of a deal. It's
Right.
classy.
Yeah.
And then you're on
Yeah.
set and it's
Yeah.
like you got these dudes just like,
yeah, yeah.
just
No, it's true. It's
Like-
absolutely true. I mean, doing Equus, that character in Equus he's such a bundle of anxiety and nerves and everything like that. And if you're in the moment in that play where you're about to, I mean, yes, you're having sex with this girl, but now you're going to get up and you're going to blind 6 horses with a knife. You know what I mean? You don't have time to be worried about who's looking at your junk out in the
True.
audience. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yes.
Love it.
Mm.
Love it. And on that note,
On that note, Tony Ames runs over his mom.
Yep.
R.I.P.
great
mom.
segue. Yeah, we got a lot of kills in order
Yeah.
in this one.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. Then they stack right up. Johnny shoots his
his
dad. That
dad.
is brutal,
That was
man.
dark.
That is really dark.
was yeah, that was weird, man. And what's funny is the photo that's on the hutch next to the father's chair is actually me.
Oh, wow.
Like when I was 2.5 or something.
Oh, my
right?
God.
And it was weird. It was because I'm so old that before they had color photographs, they used to paint. They take a black and white photo and they would paint colors on it, and it was one of those. So this was the early '60s, right?
Wow.
And so it was just like, it was my idea. I said, well, wouldn't it be cool? And then we'll have the blood spatter onto the picture.
Yeah.
And so we shot it, and I love it. I think it's great. I love the scene. But unfortunately, the blood seeped under the glass and ruined the picture.
Oh, no.
So
Didn't have any digital? Did you have it?
now I had other ones that were similar, but that one was destroyed.
Anyway,
but
that's kind
it's
of a
also
great- yeah.
also on film, so forever.
Exactly.
Right. So
I would still keep it framed. It's like
Mhm.
that memory lives on.
I don't know what I guess I didn't bring it home. I wish I had now. It was with the blood stains on it. It would be great, right?
Oh, man. It is immortalized, though. You're right. Absolutely.
After that, we have the end of Mr. Miller's scene.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he gets banged to death. I said maybe.
Yeah. It's did he get
No,
banged?
okay. So
Or
when
did-
when I was watching it, doing notes for the episode, I was watching it on Tubi, and they put in a commercial break right then,
It's
Oh,
like,
really?
we gotta cut.
and I was just like, so what? I'm like, is there a chunk missing? Because then like it just cuts away.
Yeah. It cuts away so fast that it's like
Yeah. Okay. So
heart
it does
attack
that. Okay.
or premature splooge. What happened? How did you die? Like, did you...
Yeah. Then we go back to the class. Everyone's like, Damien. Love that.
We shot all of those class scenes in order, by the way, which is not normal, right? You shoot things in continuity wise in order, but they wanted to do that because of the progression of the kids from the nice kids wearing white and
Yeah.
light colors to the darker and so forth. So that's one of the only times that I think that with with scenes that were in the same location on films that I've worked on where it was shot in order.
Wow. Yeah, you never get that. It's
Mhm.
That
very
must
rare.
have been helpful as actors
I
to
think,
go
yeah,
from
for sure.
Absolutely.
like they're Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck socks. that's my Bill Mosley for you.
I love Bill.
Oh.
But yeah, so
Mm.
they're all converted at this point.
Mhm.
Matt tries to go to the mayor again. He's always going to this mayor, hoping for some results. He is. He's hoping the mayor. Maybe if they had all just not cut out of the first concert and
Yeah.
stayed there, things would have stayed mellow.
Right.
But no, he's back to him again, and then he's like, "Oh, just go to the concert. Tell me what happens. Come back over, and I'll
Yeah.
help you with my Ice Queen daughter."
Yeah.
You guys should stay together. You guys should stay together with the Ice Queen daughter.
I'm so like wrapped up in this man's drama.
I know. It's like the side plot of this. I mean, that's very, talk about soap opera. That's very soap opera of them.
And then there's this scene. Is it Janie? I get Julie and Janie mixed up
Oh,
with
yeah.
the counselor.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And
The guidance counselor.
she's like, I just want to scream at the top of my lungs.
Yeah, because you're like, why are you acting so weird? Your dad just died and you don't know how. And she's like, yeah, I'm totally fine. The counselor's not even questioning why she's acting so weird.
She's like, I just want to scream here. Let me help you.
Push.
By the way, the quick shot of her as a demon right before she
Yeah.
pushes him, that I did that.
Oh, the makeup?
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
And that wasn't Patricia.
Oh.
Oh.
Because that was an insert that we shot in New York. Which did match.
Wow.
Which
Yeah,
worked
that's
out.
great.
It matched great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Didn't notice that at all.
No, I would have never picked up on that.
Mhm.
And then that's the library scene that you talked about earlier,
Mhm.
where he tried to seduce Hot for Teacher. She's
Mhm.
Hot
But
for
I
Teacher
will
a little
say,
bit.
I really want all the books he's reading.
too.
Like, I was like, what a collection.
He's great. I love him.
Then after that, we get Damien back again in the same outfit that thing must smell after a few days,
Mhm.
talking in his demon voices. He's got a cool line though. He's like, "Let's make blood
Let's make
sing."
blood
Through the
sing.
middle.
Oh my god. I love it so
That's
much.
the name of the sequel I had in mind. Was
That's such a
Black
good
Roses
name.
2.
Oh,
Blood
a
City.
sequel.
I mean, it's not too late.
No, it isn't. Actually,
It's
and
never
it's
too
also
late.
it's not out of the question either.
And if you need an almost 40-year-old to play a high schooler, I got you. I'm right
Well, we
there.
wouldn't want to make it any different than the original movie,
Right?
would
I can still.
I can just see you wearing the demon gloves with your teeth out.
That's funny.
Oh my god. Here for all of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
All right. Julie squeezes her teeth.
Yeah.
But we've talked about that.
Yep.
That makes sense. I was like, oh, is it just a body double? But again,
Yeah.
they just wanted more in the movie.
Right. And it makes sense.
But
it works.
her killing her creepy stepdad, the death that we've been waiting to
Oh,
come.
yeah.
So good.
It's
Mm.
so
Like,
good. It's very.
I
yes.
love when
Thank
like
you.
a hero object that's a weapon, you could feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm
Ooh.
sure it was rubber or something, but it looks so good.
Oh, yeah, it was
Oh,
styrofoam.
Yeah.
But it looked like
No, it looked great. Yeah.
You would
Yeah.
never known.
Yeah, the art department did a really good job.
And then we're going like full erotic thriller territory. Julie slits Priscilla's throat from the back of the car, and
Yes.
I'm like, okay, are we watching the same movie?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
this
it's
has
like
gone
De
real
Palma
dark.
film all of a
Yeah,
sudden. Yeah. It goes real dark real fast.
but it's a good throat slit too.
It is. It is. And that was one of those. We only got one take, guys. Let's make it work
Oh,
because she's
perfect.
wearing white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we knew if this doesn't work on this shot, we'll probably have to turn it around and
Yep.
shoot it from the back where you don't see any blood.
Right.
Thankfully, it worked.
No, it worked.
This happens a lot on independent horror movies like this. I talk about it a lot, I think, in the book, is that like when you only have one take,
Mhm.
because the cost of having to rebuild something, to clean the costumes, to clean the floors, that's all stuff that takes time, all stuff that costs money. And when you're on a budget like this, on a movie like this, you don't have that luxury
Right.
of being able to, oh, we'll shoot it again tomorrow. Well, no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
We've been
Oh.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie when Julie shows up to seduce
Mhm.
Matt. And he's just like, no, he's not. He's a good,
Mhm.
he's not going
Oh,
to
but
have
he
any
thinks
of it.
about it.
No, he thinks about it. And I'm
Mhm.
glad he's really good at that, by the way, because there's a lot of movies where they just go straight up. Oh, no. Like, he's very good at being subtle about, like, no. And he slaps her, and then suddenly she turns into a Sphinx cat.
That's what she looks like to me.
It's very unnerving, actually, the way that they do
Oh,
that. 'Cause
yeah.
it's just this big
But, like,
prosthetic on top of a
still-
normal female body.
Yeah,
torso.
well, John, it was very important to John to do what he tried to do in Rock and Roll Nightmare with the devil,
Mm-hmm.
which was that he wanted it to be a puppet so that we knew it wasn't somebody in a costume. He wanted it to be this thing that couldn't possibly be somebody in a suit,
Right.
right? That was his intention. And so Tony Bua sculpted the Julie monster, and a really great guy named Mike Maddy constructed it then from the sculpture. And that thing, there was somebody underneath it that was working the head,
Oh.
and then me and somebody else on the other side were working the arms.
Oh,
that had
wow.
rod puppets. And you have to be careful because obviously the camera, if you see any of that it's gonna ruin the effect.
Yeah.
But I always thought that was such a scary face.
Yeah.
It is.
You know,
It-
those
it's
big
just-
teeth.
the whole composition is very unnerving because you either want the whole body or just the face. But when you see the human body with that the neck and that face,
I love that.
when they go back to the concert and backstage, there's just like a 5-minute scene of the girl just doing the rubbing her boobies on the altar. And I made a special note of this when Damien has the picture on the altar. It looks like a Sears photo because he just doesn't look very metal in that picture. And there's something about it that's just
because it's Salvignano's headshot is what it is.
I'm sorry, but it looks like a Sears photo, and I love it so much.
It's great. And I love like when Matt goes in looking like Marty McFly.
I know. Yes.
Or the
the red vest.
And then Damien takes his wig off and he just looks like a drag queen.
It almost looks like it would be the witches when they take their hair off and like they turn into the witches.
We're just like, oh no. It's like that's the big reveal.
Yeah, I love it.
How much of a monster am I without my hair?
This is my favorite note.
Takes his wig off.
No, it's Damien the baby dinosaurs. I love it so much. I love that final reveal. Like
it's so fun.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing about the final stage, the reptile demon, right? Is that one of the guys that worked on it, that helped sculpt it and everything, it was his body that they did the cast that they built then on, right? However,
he's shorter.
That guy couldn't be part of the movie at that point.
Oh no.
So we had to put somebody else in last minute who was shorter, which is why you get all that buckling which it was a lot cooler when the original guy was in there because he stood up a lot higher and it all fit. It didn't buckle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is what happens. Sometimes you got to pivot.
It makes it so much fun. That's something that I think makes like the longevity of this movie is that it is a little silly, but it's really
that's what makes it fun.
So much. It's a blast to watch. And I said, there's a kaiju battle because it really is fighting in this whole rubber suit against Matt, and it's rad.
One thing, and I point this out in the book too, and it didn't even occur to me until I was writing the book. But what's so funny is that what you'll find in John Fasano's movies very often is you'll find that you have somebody fighting a monster with some unconventional weapon. So that's why Matt fights the Julie monster. He's using a tennis racket. He uses the gong drum thing, right, to hit the monster with. And there's some of that in Rock and Roll Nightmare too, I think, or in Zombie Nightmare, the zombie has a baseball bat that he kills people. It's like, so I think that this is a common thing in John's movies.
Oh my God!
And it happens a lot in the Jitters also. So
the Jitters.
So that's a thing that I guess John liked. He liked the idea of fighting a monster with. It's always like that thing. Sometimes you see that meme where it's just a werewolf has just come into your room. You can only fight it with what's directly to your left. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that John kind of loved that idea that you had to fight off a demon with a cup of pudding.
Well, that's kind of grounded in reality too, because you got to work with what you got. If you really got a demon in front of you, you got to work with what you have.
But that's also true about making the movies. It's like you have to pivot at the last minute sometimes and find a way. And so we had a shorter guy inside of our monster suit, but still
worked out.
We shot it.
It worked out. So this is pretty much
Matt succeeds. He lights it on fire. The kids get out, but the band burns, holding their instruments.
You gotta hold it to the end.
Which is interesting because spoiler alert, they don't die.
Oh no, they're going to the UK.
I love the newscaster though. She looks like a legit newscaster.
I know.
She might have been from Toronto. There was an additional scene that was cut.
Ooh, okay.
And it's only one shot. And it's after the mayor and Matt are watching that newscast and he's saying she's going to be playing Madison Square Garden and everything like that. And the last shot originally, and it wasn't the first cut and they took it out, was exterior of the house. Matt and the mayor coming out and loading up the truck with like flares and gasoline and everything like that as if they're going to go hit them again.
There's your sequel. Oh, that's so cool.
My sequel takes place many years later where Johnny is my age now and he's like an alcoholic and actually Karen Plant and I talked about this and She was like, they were married for a while and they have a son, but they've split up because Johnny's so f***ed up from killing his father. And that their son, what Johnny doesn't know is it's Damien's son.
You gotta get on this. You gotta get on this because I want to see this so bad. I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. I mean, of course, you guys know how hard it is to get a movie made.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if it'll ever be possible, but I would love to do it.
There's a will.
I'd also love to play Johnny again as an adult and talk about the dealing with guilt and all the things that come with that. And
you don't see that very often in sequels if they don't carry that over. But you gotta when you have a sequel and you have a character who's been through so much, it's so good to see the dark side of that they don't often portray in sequels, and I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So maybe someday. We'll see.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that's just about our episode.
Yeah.
Thank
Black
you
Roses.
so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yes.
Believe me.
Where can our listeners find you?
I am on social media. I'm on all the usual. I'm on Facebook. I'm just Frank Dietz on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter. I won't call it X. I am the Frank Dietz. And I just started going back on TikTok, just putting up like fun little clips from horror movies and talking about them a little bit.
Oh.
But but the book is out, Monsters, Movies, and Me. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I'm very proud of that. And I do conventions from time to time. I love to meet Black Roses fans because they're the best.
And he makes these super amazing socks and
Those
other
socks are so cool.
Black Roses merch on
T-shirts, buttons on Redbubble. Yeah,
So
Sketchy
cool.
Things Shop.
I want those so bad. Oh my gosh. If you enjoyed today's episode, you can head on over to our Patreon where we have longer uncut episodes like the one that you heard today, which you're going to want to probably hear a lot of. We may or may not have a bonus episode there involving another movie that Frank has been in for this month. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there.
Make sure to like, subscribe, smash that bell.
But until next time, sweet screams, everyone.
And whatever you do,
Don't fall asleep first.
Soldiers in the night. Woo.